Welcome to the Casey Ingram Show Meet Your Candidate series. No spin, no agenda, no endorsements, just the candidate. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the many listeners who submitted questions for today's interview. Several of those questions have been incorporated into this discussion. As always, questions are not shared with the candidates in advance. If you enjoy these interviews and want to stay informed on local issues and elections, be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and follow the Casey Ingram Show on Facebook. I'm Casey Ingram. Let's get into it. Karen Onsager is the incumbent and is running for Village of Indiantown Council, Seat 5. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Casey, how are you doing this morning?
I am well, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know with the primary coming up on August 18th, you folks are all super busy right now.
We are busy. Yeah,
it's
a busy season.
It's a nice time just to sit down, and it gives you the time to answer the questions. I don't cut you off, so you can answer them.
Okay, great.
So
I just want to make sure that your viewers realize that the camera gives you 10 years older.
Exactly. Not only 10 pounds now.
It's not 10
years.
pounds, it's age. Yeah, it ages you at least 10 years, according to this.
Exactly. Good point. I'm glad you had that disclaimer. It's so true.
Yeah.
For those who may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're seeking another term.
So I've traveled the world with my family. I've lived everywhere. I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, and we moved everywhere. And even after my father was retired from the military, we still moved a lot. So my husband and I moved to Palm City in 2011. We got to Palm City. His business is here. He bought his business from his father's in 99, I believe. And so his business is in Florida. So we ended up coming down here. And so we lived in Palm City for a while. And then we moved out on the grade. That's 714 out past Alapata. And we lived out there for a little bit, but he'd always wanted to live on the water. So when a property came available in Indiantown, I'm a realtor of 24 years. I got that property and we moved to Indiantown. So that was in 2019, sort of in the, they'd started incorporation, but they hadn't fully completed getting everything done. So in those gap years. So we moved here in 2019, and my across the street neighbor is Susan Gibbs Thomas. So she asked me if I would be willing to represent her or work with her on the PZAB. And I said, sure. I'm a realtor. I know land use. I know these kind of things. So I joined the PZAB. When Susan decided to run for county and her seat was going to be vacant, they asked anyone who was interested in running for that seat to write a letter and come talk to the council, and I was appointed. So I wasn't elected, so this is my first election, and I am not a politician. Anybody that knows me will tell you I'm way too straightforward to be a politician. Kind of just say whatever I think. So I'm not politically correct most of the time. However, it is my community. Everything we've got is invested here. This property is our retirement, and this has become our community. And we have raised some children here and are still raising a young lady here. She's 15. She's my youngest of 7.
Oh, my.
So, yeah, 5 boys and 2 girls. Every gray hair I have, folks, is from my 7 kids, mostly the boys. But anyway.
Girls would not do that to you.
And maybe a little bit of this campaign.
There you go.
It's the campaign. Like I said, I'm not a politician. I'm serving my community. I think it's a calling to serve. I think you should serve. I also serve, or did. I've taken a break from it, but I served as the service coordinator at my church. And that was very time consuming. It was, 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock every Sunday. And so I've had to take a little break from that, but I like doing public service.
So I want to point out too, you mentioned Susan Gibbs Thomas, and for those who don't know, I think most everybody does. She was the first mayor of Indiantown.
And she's fabulous. We have very similar views on most things as far as, fiscal conservative, social. I'll just tell you, I don't fit any political bill. I'm a fiscal conservative, I'm a social moderate, and I'm an ecological liberal. So I am really, kind of a hodgepodge of an independent, I suppose. I am in the Republican Party because of the conservative fiscal part of me. But this is a nonpartisan, so we're not running as Republican or Democrat. It has nothing to do with that. This is strictly based on our vision and our willingness to serve the community.
So looking back on your time in public service, what accomplishment are you most proud of, and what lesson has made you a better public servant today?
Okay, so on a council, as you know, it is a group activity. So I'm not going to claim that I've done anything individually. We all work really hard to consider each issue. Our staff works really hard. Everybody's doing their job, and that's what makes things work. I think the best thing we've done, and although we're not done, just let me be clear, nobody think that we're finished, because we're not, is getting the water back headed in the right direction. I would never have purchased the water plant. It was too far gone. It was not a good investment. The previous council, the very first council that purchased that, kind of got hoodwinked. I'll be honest with you. They didn't do their vetting, and this thing was way worse than anyone expected. I would have loved to have seen a privatized company come in and take it over, because we probably have water by now. Most of the time they move faster than government can move. And most of the time, if they're going to go into something like that, they've got the funds to go ahead and get everything fixed. We did not. We were unprepared for what was actually the problem with the water system, which was absolutely everything. There wasn't anything in good working order. So I'm most proud that we have been able to get things headed in the right direction and get the governor and the state's confidence that we're being responsible with the grant money that we're getting. And what was supposedly a $12 million problem for the plant is a $112 million problem for the plant. So I am very proud that we're well on our way to getting that fixed. Now, we're still not done. We still have to get money for the infrastructure, the piping. And a lot of people think that the government sends us grant money and we can just go, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. No, everything is earmarked. So each grant tells us exactly what we can do with that money. So we still need roughly $102 million to replace the piping.
Wow.
We're in a situation where, and you'll appreciate this because I see your cart horse up there, we've got the horse behind the cart a little bit, but we're headed in the right direction. And as I said, this has been an effort on everyone's part. We have Karen, who is very, very well respected. She has earned that respect. We have Wade, who's been attacked a lot, but he is just above board and beyond. He's beyond question, a very honest and decent guy. And he works very hard for the community. He's very conservative. So he likes to err on the side of not making mistakes, not getting us into things that might cost a lot of money. The other thing that I think people need to understand is when we do these things, it takes all of us. It takes everybody on the board. We don't always agree with each other and we don't always vote the same way, although it has seemed that we have, specifically because of the things that have been brought in front of us. Everything that has been brought in front of us so far has been a positive for the community, or the least of the evils. Okay. So I'm sure we'll talk about the FP&L annexation shortly. So and I'll explain then what I mean by that. So we don't work together. We're not allowed to talk outside. A lot of people think we meet and talk. We never speak to each other except for in those meetings. So we never know what anybody's going to say or how anybody's going to feel until we get there. So when we vote, when they call for the vote, I don't know what anyone on that dais is going to say. I just know what I've come up with through my own research. But I think that has to be the proudest thing. Personally, the best thing I've done is put Booker Park as a priority for the playground. We had a lot of parks that needed work, and I just really wanted Booker Park to be a priority because those kiddos deserve a fun and safe place. So we have worked very hard and we're acquiring the land around it, and we're going to hopefully shut that road off so the people aren't zooming in and out, right? I mean, the kids are crossing the road and people are flying down that road. So that is in the works to get all that done. But personally, that's the one I really pushed for Booker Park to be the priority. And even though it's not the most used park, but for me, it was a priority because those kiddos deserve a place to play and something that's safe and something that's nice.
Right.
Sometimes they feel like they're on the back burner, but I don't want them to think that with me. I think of them as just as much of the community as anyone else.
And what lesson has made you a better public servant today?
Well, I've always been real straightforward. And Mr. Boss will always warn me to think before I speak, because sometimes I'll just say what I think and it's not as PC as he would like. But I think the biggest lesson I've learned is to just really stick to what your integrity tells you to do, even when it's really tough or someone doesn't like it. Ask the hard questions. I'm definitely known for being the person to ask the questions on that dais. I always have my homework done. I know what I want to know, and I listen to the people that come up and speak for 3 minutes, and I hear their questions, and then I try to incorporate them into my questions so that they can get more, because we're not allowed to speak back to them. That 3 minutes is a public comment. It's not a conversation. So as much as I want to go, oh, I know the answer, I can't do that.
Right.
So I try to incorporate some of their thoughts and questions and concerns into my questioning so that they might get an answer. It's not always possible and they don't always get the answer they wanted, but I try to do that. So I guess I've learned to really listen and really research and have built my own integrity to be able to say what I really believe.
Okay. Now, I want to jump back to the water for just 1 minute. You had mentioned the infrastructure was another 100 million. I know you have what I consider a hero in your village, and I think you do too, because I think I remember you shouting him out on Facebook, and that's Pat Nolan, heading up your water department, especially when the lightning took it out the other week. And, I think that was one thing I just kind of wanted to tie in. The water he's been getting out of the plant is actually good and clean. Everybody's getting that brown water. It's from the infrastructure, the piping to their home.
Correct. And they have a little bit of a problem with how the cart and horse are arranged. I think we should be prioritizing the pipes. But again, the money is earmarked. So they want the major infrastructure up. I would love to see work on this over here, get our old water system maybe working better, do some piping. Do some pipe replacement. Unfortunately, we can't just randomly decide what to do with the funds because each of our grants is specific. So I'm hoping if we have continuity, if we keep the board that we have, we're all on the same page as far as getting the grants. We have a lot of, I want to just say we've built confidence with the state. It takes a lot to build that confidence. Mr. Forio, Miss Krista, our mayor, and the rest of us have got the governor and the rest of the people who do these grants confidence that we will do the right thing with the money. The money won't be squandered or wasted or lost or, moved to things they're not supposed to be. And we've earned that trust. Whereas in the past, and I am not a dirty politician, so I'm not going to name names, but in the past, we've lost grants because of lack of confidence or a statement that was made that should not have been made, or a criticism that should not have been, put out on the dais. It's everyone else in this state is vying for those same funds. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's just, well, here's a pool of money and we'll give it all to this one, that one, or the other. We're all putting in applications for those funds. It's very important that the people of Indiantown understand that we have really gotten a lot done, especially in the last 2 years, because we've been able to get these funds in. Now, going back to Pat Nolan and his team, I can't say enough about how lucky we are to have Pat. And one of the wonderful things about what Pat has done is he's taken locals and he's gotten them their licensing. Those licenses are worth their weight in gold. And we have the most dedicated people. And it's not just the water department. Our staff is incredible. Everybody on our staff, from LaRonda to the Parks and Rec people to the code enforcement guy, everybody is really dedicated to seeing Indiantown do well. And so I'm super proud to be part of the community with those folks. And I have all the confidence in the world that Mr. Nolan and his team can get things done.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. He's done so much already. He really has.
Yeah, he's incredible.
When your next 4-year term ends, what do you hope Indiantown looks like? And what legacy do you hope you've helped create?
Okay, this is going to be, I'm hoping, 4 years is slow in your mind, but fast in reality.
Right.
And when you're talking government years, 4 years is like 60 days to us. It takes that long to get everything done. So in the perfect world, we would have a treed median down our suicide lanes on 710 that slows traffic down, has clear areas where people can cross. We would have bike lanes throughout the community. We would have a beautification grant that allows for us to come in and help the property owners to bring their property up to make us a pretty place. When people come by, they want to stop. We would have shops, restaurants, maybe art galleries, maybe jewelry stores. We would become, I want to say, a little Mount Dora. And if anybody's not been to Mount Dora, you should go to Mount Dora because it's just lovely. You park your car and you walk everywhere, and there's restaurants and there's shopping and there's a little cute old-fashioned bookstore, and there's culture and there's arts, and they have arts festivals. I would love for our community to be a destination. I would love to see people that want to look at each other and say, hey, let's go to Indiantown tonight and eat. I want the food trucks off our main streets. If we're going to do food trucks, let's set them up an area where they can come for the weekends. I don't want that to be the first thing you see when you come to town. And I also want people to see that there's a possibility they can actually open a business here and make a good living. And I think with the influx of new homes that we have, I think that's a possibility for people to really feel like, oh yeah, there's a need out there that has not been met. Also like for us to have a health care. I would like to see a doctor out here, a chiropractor, a dentist, in nice facilities that people are confident in going to. I would like to see our people not have to travel 45 minutes to get to a store to shop for clothing, or have to go to Walmart because it's the only thing within a bus ride. So that that is my vision. The water plant completed, the water being good, the new fire station. I know that we'll probably talk about that in a minute, but we just got funding to put a new fire station, which by the way, Terra-Lago has subordinated the land for. They have been a fantastic partner. I know it's hard to come into a new community and it's hard for the community to have new people coming in, but we're very glad they're here. The community is a tremendous partner with our town, and they're handing out backpacks next week full of supplies. Our kids on all of our schools do not have to have their parents go spend $300 on supplies. They're being provided. So those things matter. Another thing I want to tell you is when we look at someone coming into our community as a business, we ask them to be community members, to be community contributors. It's in the paperwork. You need to stand up, take part, make this a better place for everybody. And so those are the kinds of people that we are looking for as community members.
Very nice. Very nice. I think that's a wonderful vision that you have for sure. Looking back at your time on the council, what's one decision you would absolutely make again? And what's one decision you would handle differently today?
I would make the FP&L PUD decision again. I know it's unpopular, but by rights, they could have come in and done whatever they wanted. They have the right to use their property. And so doing the PUD gives us measured control. They have to come to us and say, okay, this is the next step. And in the PUD, we've set parameters. So we can come and let me tell you something. FPL has been an amazing partner too. So when we ask them for something, they think about it. They're not just going, nope, you can't make us, they actually think, okay, maybe that is a benefit to the community. So they have been tremendous partners. And I'm not afraid of them turning tail and not being a tremendous partner. I believe they really care about the community. They've shown that through so many things that they've done for this community in the past. I feel like they're going to honor their commitments. And so doing the PUD gave us options that we would not have had if we'd have annexed the property in by rights. Now people are saying, well, you didn't have to annex the property in. No, we didn't. But we need diversified tax revenues. We need more money in the coffers. FPL has already been a good partner. It was for me, a very easy decision to make to allow them to do the PUD. Had it been by rights, I'd have been really nervous. And even though they'd be good partners, if the property sold to someone else and it was by rights, God knows what you could have there. You could have another new field out here. And I didn't want that. I honestly don't want our community to turn into Port St. Lucie. I think we need enough housing so that there are people here that can use the amenities that hopefully come in, and everyone has a nice, balanced, small town feel, but the amenities that we deserve. I would seriously love to go have something to eat at a nice restaurant here. I don't want to have to go to Stewart or Jensen to eat out.
And it's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because to get those amenities, there has to be enough residents to service it.
Have to be enough residents. But we've got a lot of people coming with Terra-Lago, and I feel like they've hung in there since 2006, waiting for us to be able to let them start. And they're doing it in stages. I think once they're done, that's a lot of residents, nearly 3,000 residents. And we have this beautiful River Oaks. River Oaks does not get enough kudos. They came in and it's an opportunity zone, so they can't even sell what they built. They can only rent. Okay. So they took a huge risk for 10 years. They committed. And look at the beautiful rentals they provided. We never had rental homes in Indiantown that anybody went, oh my gosh, these are fabulous. If you haven't driven through there, you really need to. It's beautiful. They did a great job. And they did it in a manner that was way less than they could have done. They could have just slapped things on there, and they didn't. They listened to what we wanted and they made it beautiful. And it has been an absolute plus for our community. And I don't think they get enough credit for that. Everybody wants to talk about Terra-Lago because it's larger. But in reality, that 10-year waiting period that they have for the Opportunity Zone property, that's a big commitment as well. They really make commitment.
It's a very nice community. I've been through there, actually. I did not realize that they had a 10-year commitment for rentals on those. So
yeah, any opportunity zone, you can't sell the property. Whatever you build on property in an opportunity zone, you can't sell. Okay. It's a 10-year limitation on that. So what's really neat about that, though, 10 years is going to fly by.
It does.
And those people that are in those will have the opportunity to purchase, and their homes are beautiful and they're taking good care of it. If you drive by there, you can see the renters are really taking pride in those homes. And so I'm really proud of River Oaks. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There's nothing I wouldn't do again the same way. I make my decisions very carefully, and I haven't made a decision that I feel was a bad decision.
Very good. So residents have raised concerns over the loss of early village financial records. While no criminal charges were filed, many people remain concerned about how public records could disappear. What was your reaction when you learned those records could not be located, and what lessons should the village learn from that experience? And what safeguards would you support or have initiated to better protect public records going forward?
So that's an easy question. We've already put in place the system, and it should be online by the end of this month, if not the very beginning of August, where you can see every transaction. Our accounting system, and Mr. Florio is amazing. He is top notch. He is a stickler for detail. Everything is in order. So we have put it all on the system that we purchase for accountability. And it's now, the state is requiring that as of January 1st of 2027. We're going to be ahead of that by 4, 5, 6 months, depending on what date, we get at least 5 months, because we've been working on it they've been working on it for the last year, actually. It takes a lot to get all that stuff going, but they are getting it active. And I'm thinking it's going to be the end of this month, if not the 1st of August, that you'll be able to go on there and see every check that's been written. And so those, of course, are backed up and taken care of. We did not have that capability. I'm not surprised that records were missing. My opponent allowed the then manager to use her laptop because he left his at home. Because he didn't want his available. His laptop was never returned. So I believe they made a mistake not filing the charges. And I definitely believe they made a mistake giving him a severance and letting him walk. I was not there. I cannot say exactly what happened, but from what I've seen and been told, there was a lot of things going on that should not have been. And unfortunately, several of the people running for office were part of that. They thought he was the end-all be-all leader, apparently, because they just did whatever he asked. He came in, immediately got a raise. He was sending them to trainings that were absurd, things that they didn't even need, 3 and 4 day trips that they were going on, calling it trainings. Well, why were we having that expense? We don't know what the expenses were. We don't exactly know where all they went, what all they spent. But that board was offered an awful lot of travel perks that never should have happened because it wasn't training that was necessary. We made a mistake in that hiring process, but I'm not blaming anyone on the council, and I'll tell you why. They didn't know what they were doing, and that's not an insult. It's the fact. They were community members that were willing to serve. They had no background in government. And things were not as easy even though we had the internet, it was not as easy to find everything out as it is now. You push a button now and you know everything there is to know. So I'm not blaming anyone. However, they bypassed a hiring system to put him in place that never should have been bypassed. 5 people were already vetted. There was someone that was going to be chosen. And all of a sudden, this person's resume slips in. He's in and he's hired. And we come to find out that the background wasn't exactly what we thought.
Right.
So I was not here during that. And so I don't want to speak on individuals' personalities, but it's highly disturbing that laptops were not returned, laptops were erased, records were gone. And I don't know who. I think that was part of the problem. We never could figure out. Who do you point the finger at? So I think that's more the reason that the charges were not brought, because there was deniability. I didn't do it. I don't know. Wasn't my laptop, that kind of thing.
Right.
But we have solved that. I feel like we have all learned. And it's often like, I'm going to use a real estate analogy because I've been a realtor for 24 years. You get a listing and it's overpriced, and the people are just insisting that this is the price, that that's what they want. And you know that it's overpriced $50,000, but you want that listing because there might be a chance, that somebody's going to buy that listing, even overpriced. Or people will call on it. And to be honest, you have buyers calling. So you make a choice. You take the listing knowing that it's iffy. The second they fire you because it doesn't sell, and the second realtor can say it's overpriced, and they'll go, oh, that's why it didn't sell. So we are coming in as the second realtor. we're coming in with a world of knowledge that the first group did not have. And we're also not in a situation where we have a extremely charismatic, I'll use that word, individual with a lot of influence. And even my opponent said she felt influenced from the first day. She felt pressure from the first day. I don't have that problem. There's a lot of folks out there saying staff guides us. No, they don't. We don't hear from them. We can go ask them anything. They never tell us what to do, ever. They give us their recommendations based on what they are supposed to do. They're doing their jobs. Our attorney then gives us direction based on his job. And thank God we're all on that council smart enough to know not to question our attorney. None of us are attorneys. So when people are like, oh, don't trust your attorney, are you kidding me? Do you guys hire attorneys and then not trust them? Mr. Vos has an impeccable reputation. Even the naysayers have personally told me that he's squeaky clean and has an impeccable reputation. What they feel is he's too conservative. Well, Indiantown is a small community. We are in good shape financially. We've paid off our debt, but we can't afford a lawsuit. That's why I asked FP&L for $5 million coverage rather than $1 million. $1 million coverage is a bad car wreck. You can literally have $1 million payout in a car wreck on 95 very easily. And when they came with that, I went, no, that's not enough. So I insisted that they give us $5 million coverage. And that was if there was a lawsuit about the annexation of their property. They don't cover anything else, just their property at the PUD. Spoke to their lawyers from the dais, told them it was not sufficient enough. They asked me what I wanted. I said $5 million would probably cover it. And the reason I said that is because a lot of groups were already saying they were going to sue us, and nobody's going to pro bono $5 million. Okay. So I figured it put us in a better position. Now, a lot of people said, well, you're keeping your own citizens from suing you. No, I'm keeping the majority of citizens who are not suing us from having to pay for that lawsuit, because governments don't have any of their own money. The United States government, the state government, the village of Indiantown, Martin County. We produce zero revenue other than taxpayer dollars and fees on services. But we don't have the money to spend on a lawsuit. That would put us in a big problem. And when you've got 10 people screaming, I'm going to sue you, versus our entire population who would have to pay for that, it was my job to protect them from that. And that's why I asked for that. I also asked during that PUD meeting for them to abide by a law that was not even in place yet. So 484 was going to be signed, hopefully. At that point, the governor hadn't signed it yet, but hopefully was going to be signed by July 1st and become a law. This was a June meeting. I said to them, I want you to commit to the water and power limitations and regulations prior to the bill even being done, just because it's a good idea. These things are good regulations. And they agreed. So I feel like we're doing things right. I feel like we are asking the questions. We are taking the hits. Our integrity gets questioned. Our motives get questioned. Apparently, there's some pocket lining going on, according to the rumor mill.
Right.
Haven't seen any yet. They're not helping me out. I'm missing out somewhere. But there's none of that. We make such a modest. I believe the county commissioners make $86,000 a year.
Yeah, right.
We get 10.
Right.
So I think I net $744 a month. And well, that's good if you're only going to 2 meetings. Well, if that was all we were doing, you would be right. But I think when you get down to what the time we actually spend, we're making $3 an hour.
Right.
So people need to understand it has nothing to do with the money.
Right. No, you guys are paid a very small pittance.
Yes, it's a pittance. Exactly. I'm appreciative of it, but I was willing to give mine up for the bus service. I want everybody to remember that too. I said, let's give it up and make sure the buses run. So
very nice. Yeah, I did not realize that. So
yeah, I actually brought it up at a meeting where they were short the funds to fund the bus. And I said, well, why don't we give up our salaries? And I heard a few people choke, and Mr. Florio said it was a very complicated situation that really would not work well, and so we dropped it. But I'm not here for the $744 a month.
So that is something that continues to come up, and I'll let you weigh in a little bit more on that, and that is transparency. So it's discussed in nearly every campaign. It's brought up on many of the meetings.
It's a buzzword, Casey.
It is. If reelected, what specific changes would residents actually notice in how the village government operates, if any?
Okay, so I will tell you this. We are as transparent gets. First of all, we film every meeting. The documents are available. You can come in and you don't even have to pay for them to get. I mean, if you want things printed out and given to you and you do an inquiry, then yes, there's a fee for that. But you can come in and ask for anything and look at it. And we have the new system that we've got and our website. And people are saying the website isn't friendly. We are working on that. I went through the website. A couple of us on there, Phyllis went through it, and we said, yeah, you know what? This is a little wonky. It's a little hard. So we're making it easier. We're working on that. That is also an expense, and it's also very time consuming because at this point, we don't have an IT person that's sitting there dedicated to us. At this time, we're contracting those people. So if we can get an IT guy, then we can get these things going. And I'm hoping that we can do that. Transparency. I love how everybody throws that word around. I can't imagine anything more transparent than Indiantown. I mean, you can get any record you want from any meeting. They're all recorded. They're all on the website. You can ask any of us. Do you know in the going on almost 5 years that I've served, no one has ever called to ask me questions.
Interesting.
No one has ever said, hey, can you meet me before the meeting? And I say it all the time. If you have questions, let me know. I'll find out the answers. If you don't want to do the digging, I can do the digging. I got no problem. If you've got a concern, let me know. No one, zero, zilch, nobody.
Wow. Okay. All right. So what do you believe is the proper role of a village council member? Should council members primarily focus on setting policy, or should they become involved in day-to-day village operations?
Absolutely not. We have professionals that understand day-to-day operations that we've put into place. I do not like the idea of micromanaging. We have people that are exceptional at their jobs. We've done a great job of getting those people. It is a blessing to have the people we have doing their jobs. What in the heck would be the point of having them if we're not going to trust them to do their jobs? Is there oversight? Of course there's oversight. But I want them to bring us what we're supposed to be doing, looking at issues, setting policies, listening to concerns of the constituents, but not always bending to them because we have a broader picture. So if they want to know what that broader picture is, they need to come talk to us instead of maybe listening to people on Facebook that are putting out a propaganda. Now, some of the concerns people have are legitimate concerns, but there's a process and a way of dealing with things that government doesn't allow you to just blow something up and burn down the building in order to get something done. It's a process. And you can be the 300-pound gorilla in the room bouncing up and down, but it will get you nowhere. You have to be the person who is listening and also thinking about solutions. I'm going to tell you my strong point. I am not a problems person. I'm a solutions person. Bring me your problem. I'm going to come up with 3 solutions. We'll figure out what works best. If you're going to bring a problem, why don't you bring a solution with it instead of just beating the problem to death? So if you're going on Facebook with all these problems, why not suggest a solution? Why not say, here's a mitigation? There is middle ground between absolutely no, absolutely yes, free nothing at all, free range. There's a middle ground. So I don't know if a lot of folks know this, but I'm a certified court mediator. North Carolina, it's Supreme Court. In Florida, it's Circuit Court, Civil Court.
Okay.
So that mediation background tells me that there's a common ground. And I've said this in the meetings. If we do this right, everyone will leave equally dissatisfied. One side won't win, the other side. But what we decide to do will work for the entire community. And we can't, just because somebody's louder than everyone else doesn't mean they're speaking for the whole community. So we have to take into account the whole community, not the segment we represent, not the people that we call our people. I don't have people here. I didn't live here my whole life. I've only been here because I chose to be here, which I want to point out to you. I didn't get stuck here. I chose to come here. I don't have people. My people are Booker Park people. My people are Uptown people. My people are Hispanic people. My people are white people. They're black people. They're the cowboys. They're all the people are my people. I don't care what neighborhood you're in. I don't care whether you're new to Terra-Lago. You're still our people. The minute you signed that document and moved in that door, you became part of Indiantown's community. You're Indianwood. You're here for part of the year. Even if you don't vote, you're part of our community to me. The ladies that live out away from here that are concerned, have concerns, that don't live in our community aren't voters. They're people I care about because they're part of our community and historically have been for a very long time. I don't have a segment. And I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like other candidates do. And they keep talking about how I'm going to take care of this, this, and this for you. I'm going to take care of everything for everybody to the best of my ability.
So Indiantown is changing rapidly. Where do you see the village in the next 10 to 20 years?
So Casey, you and I had a conversation not too long ago about the actual history of Indiantown. You had written a really good article, and I reached out to you and said, hey, I would love to see you write an article on the actual history of Indiantown. So people aren't going to like this, but guys, it's the truth. We're an industrial town. We have been an industrial town from the very beginning. Martin County used us as the industrial area before other areas. And that's lucky for us, by the way, because when the tax thing goes for the residents, we're still going to have tax income. So we're going to be golden.
Yeah, Amendment 3 focuses on the real estate homeowner taxes, not your commercial
We will
industrial
lose about
base.
$76,000.
No, you guys are fortunate there.
We're literally golden. The decisions that have been made out here are now turning around to be really good. All right. And that, of course, means we're going to have a tax base that's really got a lot of money in their pocket because they're not going to have to be paying those taxes, and there's still going to be revenue to make sure that the services continue. So back to your question, where do I see it 10 years? I see a beautiful town with some sort of center somewhere, because we can make that center anywhere within our boundaries. It does not have to be, next to the grocery store. It can be anywhere. I see somebody coming in and saying, I'd love to have an actual village square, and maybe have it. And this is just my mind. This is not what anybody's told me they want, but it's just my picture. You said, well, how do I picture it?
Right.
I picture 5-acre ranchettes with cracker cabins that are equestrian. I picture equestrian riding, birding, outdoor camping, all hunting. I picture all of that being an area where people come to spend the weekend or vacation here. Why aren't people vacationing here? We have so many beautiful things. It's because our town doesn't look friendly. When you drive by, it looks like there's nothing here. I want our town to look like there's something here. I want to do the beautiful tree lined. I want lights down the streets. I want the buildings to have some continuity and be beautified. I want flowers. I want it to be inviting. So somebody says, oh my gosh, let's go spend the weekend in Indiantown. Let's spend our vacation in Indiantown. We have so much to offer, and there's so much more that we can offer if we really look for that sort of future. Do I want necessarily gated communities? No, it's not. I don't. Do I want dozens of communities? No, I want people to come spend their money and go home, to be honest. I want enough people in the community to support the amenities that I'm hoping come, so that we're not a dog chasing its tail. I want it to be balanced, where we have the services, the amenities, the healthcare, the beautification, and happy homeowners. That's my vision, 10, 20, and for the future. However, we have a lot of industrial property, and what a lot of people have not talked about is we do have industrial standards. Nobody's brought that up yet. I've got them. I've read them. We do have noise ordinances. We do have pollution ordinances. They're all already in place, but no one has been bringing those up. I will be bringing those up shortly, so people understand that it's not just you can do whatever you want.
What's the noise level standard? Just curious.
I will let you know. I do not have that in front of me right now, but it is well below what the folks are complaining about. So, and there's a whole set of paperwork. I will get you that if you'd like.
Okay.
I'll get you that document. I don't have it in front of me. I went through my papers today, and I've got so much stuff here, from the youth sports to the charitable contribution to the roadmap for the new roadways and that kind of thing. I've got all my stuff here, but I don't have that.
Okay.
So, but I can get it to you. And we do have the noise standards, and we do have the pollution standards, and we do have, of course, the EPA. We have the Florida Water, which is in charge of those consumptive use permits. We're not in charge of those. We're also not in charge of the power. We can't be. That's a regulation from the government. Power's federally regulated. So all we can do is partner with people who are willing to do what's best for the community. So we will be having some industrial growth in our community, but it will have to be the right kind in the right place.
So we're talking about growth, industrial development. So specifically, what types of businesses would you actively recruit, and what types of development are not a good fit? And, how do you create those good paying jobs so residents don't have to leave the community to work?
So I take each individual when we have, and I love how much we've been talking about data centers. Have data centers
It's coming.
have data centers come in and asked us to review an application?
Right.
Nope, not yet. So I can't talk about whether I would approve or not approve. I've got to see the facts. I don't make up my mind before I see the facts. It is irresponsible to take a stance on a property rights issue of any kind prior to seeing the actual facts. What are they asking for? And I won't make any decision on that. Now, I tried to get a company that does electric golf carts to come here. They were producing in China. We knew the tariffs were coming. I really tried hard to get them to come to us. And I don't remember where they went, but they didn't come to us because of all the controversy, because of all they thought it was going to end up being just a battle. So I didn't get them, but that would have been a really good manufacturing job. And there would have been a sales and service and delivery jobs. So it would have been a really nice thing for our community. But they look at the community and see all this uproar over something that we haven't even talked about in reality yet. And they're like, don't know if that's going to be where we want to be. So we lost.
Let me ask you real quick on the data center, Karen, because that is something that comes up constantly on the social media anyway.
It's another buzzword.
Right. And so the data centers, it is absolutely true. There have been 0 applications that's come in front of the council. But what about behind the scenes? It sounds like you've probably had some meetings with people that said we want to bring data centers here. So
I am so glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked that because I have not had anyone tell me they want to bring a data center here until last week when I had a meeting that I'll go into at another time. It's the first time I've ever spoken to anyone that had interest in a data center. The one you're talking about, Best Car, met with all of us last year. And the one thing they asked me, are you against annexation? No, not against annexation. Would you consider annexation? I said it would depend on what you were doing and when you were doing it. I would not annex your property in under any circumstances if you were going to sit on it for 10 years trying to sell it to someone else that was going to build something. But no, we don't need any more property that's not paying taxes. I would consider an annexation only if you had a proposal, something that was going to be taxable and bring in tax revenue, and if it fit our community well. They never said what they wanted to bring here, didn't make one reference to data center or anything else. They said, what would you do with it? And I said, 5-acre ranchettes for equestrian with barns and cracker houses, and then make the town count the square there, make retail there, make a place for restaurants, make a place for bars, make a place for doctor's offices. And they're like, you think people would come out there? I said, they'll come where it is. We don't have it right now. Bring people from this 710 that's got zillions of cars going by every day. Get them to stop and spend their money here. That was the end of the conversation. At no point in time did we speak about data centers. I cannot say what they spoke to anyone else about, but it was never mentioned to me.
I appreciate
I am not
that.
pro or con data center. My thoughts on data centers are this. When somebody puts in an application, I'm going to have a lot of really tough questions for them. And I'm also going to have a lot of really tough demands for them. They're going to have to mitigate the heat issue. They're going to have to mitigate the pollution issue. They're going to have better technology than using hundreds and millions of gallons of water. They're going to have a plan that suits our community.
But do you have any regulations to demand that from them? I mean, if it's a by right, if that's one of my questions coming up.
That's why we do PUDs, Casey, because that does give us the right. And no, by rights, to be honest with you, they can do what they want. But we really try to appeal to people to be part of the community, not come in and just bulldoze and do what you want, but come in and be part of the community. Make this something that's, yes, you're going to benefit from it, but also the community needs to benefit from it. So why don't we do it this way? And why don't we put these measures on it? And most business people, honestly, they want to get along with the community. They don't want to put their money in a place that's against them. It just creates problems that they don't need. Honestly, people with that kind of money can go anywhere. So why fight with a community? So what I'm hoping that when someone does bring something to us, that they're a lot like FPNL, where they're saying, okay, we want to partner. But I want to make something really clear to everybody. We've always been industrial. All that property out by the FPNL plant where Cogen was, we used to have a 40-foot tower of smoke coming up. The property that FPNL just incorporated was never peaceful cattle ranching ag property where the deer were flowing and the bunnies were burrowing and the flowers were blooming. It wasn't. It's been oranges, which, by the way, it was commercial orange, not family owned orange. It was commercial orange. And they sprayed those trees with chemicals, and that water just ran off into the canal willy nilly because there weren't regulations that there are now. And they use a ton of water. So these things, it's easy for people who don't understand our history to make up their own history. Indiantown was this small family-owned agricultural, the cows are grazing, it's wonderful. Partly the surrounding area is the case, but historically, when Warfield got here, what's the first thing he did? He brought the railroad, he brought industry, and then he did schools and things like that. But that was to honestly house and school his workers.
Right.
We are working town. Everything that Warfield did was so that he had his own crop of workers for his commercial stuff. We did not change our LDRs. And I want to say this, I'm not blaming anyone again, back to they didn't know any better. We took basically what Martin County had and did an overlay and said, yeah, most of this works for us. Right? So all that corridor was left heavy industrial. Those people that own that have a right to do what they want on their property. All we can do is mitigate and mediate. And that's what I do. I'm a mediator. I'm a negotiator. I have the court mediation. I have 24 years as a realtor in 3 different states. I'm a broker in 3 states, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Made my living and put my kids, before I was married, put my kids through school with that. You have to be a negotiator in real estate, especially when I did a lot of commercial real estate. I did a lot of residential real estate. I've done just about every kind of real estate. As a single mom, I did whatever. When my phone rang, I went and sold something. So you cannot say, I'll never do this. There are 2 reasons you can't do that. First of all, it's a quasi-judicial hearing that you have when you're making these decisions. Quasi-judicial, almost judge. That's what that means. You're almost a judge. So we are sitting there listening to facts, and we're required by law to not use emotion to make those decisions.
Right.
We have to look at our LDRs. We have to look at our land use regulations and all of those things. And we have to look at the zoning of the property. We have to look at all of the issues about what the owner wants to do. And the best thing we can do is not go, we're not doing it, and get them to fight us, because they'll win. They got more money than we do. However, how about we say to them, this is a concern. How much water are you going to use? What are you going to use for cooling? Are you willing to mitigate the heat dome by not paving? Use gravel. It's 40% cooler. Are you willing to do downlighting so there's no light pollution? How are you going to get rid of the wastewater if you use a closed loop system? What's going to happen to you? I would want an exit plan. What's going to happen to you if you suddenly are like Elon and you send all your data centers to space? What is this building going to be commercially viable for something else? These are the smart questions to ask, and you need to know to ask them. And that's why I'm the best candidate for the seat.
Now, another question or a topic that's come up recently in the village is the Seminole Inn. The village helped secure an $8 million grant to renovate and refurnish the historic Seminole Inn. Do you believe that was an appropriate use of public funds? And more broadly, what role should local government play in supporting private redevelopment projects?
It absolutely was. It is literally our only really centered historical. Do you know the woman that ran off with the supposed King of England owned that property? He abdicated his throne to be with her. Yeah, do you know that history?
No, I did not know she owned that.
Yes. So Queen Elizabeth's father had to be the King of England because his brother ran off with Wallace. Yes. And she is the daughter of the people that owned the Seminole Inn. It is a cool history. That's another one you can do, Casey. You can do that one. All right. So listen, that is a truly historic building. It is not profiting Terra-Lago any to own that building. They bought the building, made the people that had worked and owned it very wealthy, and then said, it's a historic building. You have an opportunity now to get grants. Here you go. We're partnering with the Seminole Indian tribe. It's going to be a museum. There may be a restaurant, but I don't think it's going to be used as a commercial hotel anymore, which I'm sad about. I wish it would go back to being a hotel with a museum aspect. But I don't think that's the plan. I don't have the plan in front of me, so I don't know. But absolutely, why should we not get a grant to preserve and save that property?
Is the village I'm sorry, did they donate it to the village then, the Summerland?
I don't know how that works. They're really great at subordinating things, which means they've owned it. They own it, but it's for the public use. They're not trying to make it a profitable investment for themselves. It's so we can have that historic. We couldn't buy it. Village couldn't buy it. And we didn't ask them to buy it for us. This is something that our partners like Terralago, exceptional. Garcia is an exceptional company for our Indiantown. They've done so much. I've got lists and lists and lists of things they do for us. And it's not going to change what they can build. We're not making decisions based on that. They already know what they can build, when they can build it, how they can build it. Those have already been, that's a mechanism of the application for construction. Mm-hmm. These donations and these partnerships are all from the heart. These are people who really care about the community. Why? Because they want our community to be a place that people want to buy houses, obviously, from them. Because they've got the inventory. I'm sorry, I've got an itchy nose today for something. I don't know why. Allergies.
It happened.
But yes, we should have sponsored getting that. We have the grant writers. We have the people that can make sure that happens. And thank God the governor felt like it was important. That money would have just gone someone else's historic building. That's what it's earmarked for. Why not it be our historic building? It's going to be a draw. It's going to be part of the vision I have for people wanting to come here and spend money, see Indiantown, and tell their friends, hey, it's really cool, go back to Indiantown. And praying they have the buffet, because if you've never been to their buffet, their brunch, oh my God, it is really the best. Good. Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to circle back. You've talked about it a lot already through this interview, but prior to the FPL annexation, the village covered roughly 9,200 acres. That annexation added approximately 5,700 acres, which is an increase of about 63%. Village leaders have long discussed diversifying the tax base and reducing reliance on FPL, yet the annexation significantly expanded the amount of FPL property within the village. You've pretty much answered this, but the direct question was, do you believe the annexation was the right decision?
Absolutely, without a doubt, it's the right decision. And also, it does diversify because of the uses on that property. A lot of FP&L's taxes are the property tax, the personal property tax or the business property tax. And those properties are mobile. They can move them, as they did in 2024 during the storms when we lost almost $200,000 in tax revenue because certain parts of their property, personal property taxable trucks left the county, left the area.
Right.
So we couldn't tax them for that. And it put us in a deficit. These are going to be more permanent. They're not mobile. They're not parking things.
Can't move 5,700 acres, right?
Can't move it. And they're only going to be building on 2%. Had we gone by rights, they could have sold that property to anyone they wanted to, and it could have been anything they wanted it to be.
I'm going to ask you something about that, Karen. Do you have any concern? I agree that that's what they agreed to at the PUD, but the state with SB 180, SB 102 has really come in and overstepped local rule, changing previous agreements. Do you have a concern that down the road, it'll change anyway?
Not with the PUD. PUD is a binding agreement. So they have said that and it wasn't, we didn't shove the PUD down their throat. We asked them to do it and they agreed because like I said, they're good partners with us, and they want to be a good partner for the community. So SB 180 is a super overreach, and a lot of counties are in a lawsuit. And 484 didn't relieve us of the SB 180. A lot of people thought, oh, now you can do this and that and the other. No, it actually doesn't. What it does is it tells the people who manage the Southern Water District, to do certain things that are more controlled. And it tells the electrical people to do more. It's those folks who 484 gave stricter regulation to, not us. We still can't change our LDRs at this point. However, I have asked that we start working on the LDRs, the changes that we want to see. One of which for me is I don't want to see any heavy industrial north of Warfield Boulevard, north of 710. No heavy industrial. We have industrial areas. I'd like to see it remain that way. But again, I have to consider every application as it comes in based on our laws at the time. So I may not get my wish.
Right.
But I am not worried about FP&L at all or that annexation.
Okay. Looking ahead, should Indiantown continue annexing land? And if so, what standards should be met before approving another annexation? And how do you diversify the village's tax base beyond FPL.
So we are bringing in industry, other industry. So we are diversifying our tax base. It's just FPL is such a big portion that they've always been the biggest thing that we had going. So now we are bringing in more and more. So that helps with that diversification. It's a watering down of the control of just FP&L moving their property and causing a $200,000 gap for us.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is I don't know. I'm just going to be honest with you. I absolutely refuse to make a decision based on emotion, mine or other people's, until they bring me the facts. Because I'm not opposed to annexing properties into the community as long as it is an immediate build out that's going to be taxable, that's going to be good for the community. We don't always get to tell property owners what they can do. But one of the things that will get a no vote from me is if they're not willing to be good partners, if they're not willing to make commitments on paper, in writing. So if you're going to come in and say, I want to bulldoze my way in, I need to be annexed in because this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do whatever the heck I want, I'm going to vote no. I want partners in our community, and I want a benefit for our community. But I cannot say on any particular thing, data centers, anything else, there's lots of different things that people might not like, that could come.
Right.
There's lots of industries that
there is.
That data centers tomorrow could not be the big deal. It might be some other big deal that people don't want. I can remember when people didn't want farms. People didn't want farms near them because of the smell and the manure
right.
and the water use. I mean, agricultural people fought agriculture, believe it or not, in a lot of areas.
Yes, they have.
So right now, data centers is the boogeyman, and next year, there'll be a different boogeyman. So my job is to wait for our staff to do their job. We have competent people. Wait to hear my lawyer say in this quasi-judicial hearing, you cannot use your own, emotion, your own opinion. You must be willing to listen to all the facts and then make a decision. That's what I do. And anyone who has made a statement that they will not do that has to recuse themselves from those votes. So they're negating their power on that dais before they're ever even in the seat by making a statement that I will never do that. No way will I vote for that. Any one of us can go, I seem to remember you having a personal opinion.
Yes, you're supposed to come in with an open mind.
Open mind. We're literally judging the information, the facts, people's rights. And then we have to do what's best and negotiate. There's no one on that panel that can negotiate like I can negotiate. And that's, again, why I'm the best person for seat 5.
So we already covered the SB 484, why you can't support a moratorium right now and the restrictions for SB 180. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that?
I did ask for a 90-day pause, much to the chagrin of some people. They were like, Karen's getting liberal. No, I wanted a 90-day pause so that we could put together an informational session. I feel like it's really important. Here's where the whole lack of transparency comes in. You have to be careful what you say because it'll be taken out of context and it'll be used in a snippet on Facebook out of context. So you have to be careful what you say. So everybody gets guarded and they're like, better keep my mouth shut. Better not talk about that. In real estate, the quickest way to lose a client is to not communicate with them, not tell them what's going on. No, sir, we haven't had anybody looking at your house for the last 2 weeks, but I wanted to let you know that you've had 630 views online. We've had 3 phone calls saying they want to come. That's communication. Or you could just go, nobody's shown it. I'm not even going to talk to the guy. He's going to fire you and that second realtor is going to get to drop the price and sell the property, right?
Right.
I feel like we should be telling the community these are the facts. I can't make decisions. I can't make comments. I can't say. And anyone who does have a preconceived comment about a specific property owner's rights or what they can do with their property is putting themselves, first of all, it's very irresponsible. And they're putting themselves in a position to be a lame duck. If you won't have a vote. So there you go. You've taken your vote and you've thrown out the window. So as far as that goes, I feel like I hope we don't have another hurricane. I'd like to see SB 180 paused long enough or gone away long enough that we can get our LDRs adjusted and put in. There is always going to be space for heavy industrial in Indiantown.
Right.
People need to understand that. Already here. It's been here for years. It's not, we had a super fun site here, for goodness sake.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the first time we've had things that pollute the air, endanger the water, endanger the wildlife. But now we're smarter. There's more regulation and we can ask for more mitigation to issues. But you have to know to ask those questions. You have to know how to mitigate and you have to know how to mediate and negotiate those deals.
Now, speaking a little bit more on the data center, hyperscale data centers are much larger than your traditional data centers and can have significantly more impacts. Do you believe that they should continue to be regulated under the existing land development regulations for data centers, quote unquote, or should they have their own standards?
As of right now, they are under the LDRs. They are in our LDRs for light and heavy industrial and subject to these regulations I told you that I'll send you. However, when we are able to change the LDRs, I would like to see a specific LDR dealing with data centers. Any large scale user, not just data centers, any large scale user of water, electric, anything that might pollute, those things need to be in their own category. So when the new LDRs come out in October of 2027, I'm hoping that we've done our homework and have created a separate large-scale user section.
As Indiantown continues to grow, what infrastructure should be the village's highest priority after water? Roads, sewer, public safety, parks, or something else?
We are already doing a good job on our parks with the help of our partners. We're doing a good job on our parks. Safety, obviously, I do want to tell the rest of the county that we are the safest area in Martin County. We have a very low crime rate here, and we have a community who looks out for each other. But road safety would be my number one issue. 710 right now is like being on the turnpike. I mean, people are just flying through our town. So road safety is the number one issue. And I'm not sure it's not the number one issue for me, even ahead of water at this point in time, because it's an immediate danger to our children that are crossing the road to go to school and those kind of things. So therein lies the reason I want to partner with the FDOT and get that median done, get some slow down stuff put in place on our roadways and traffic change areas, calming areas. I want to partner with FDOT on getting those things done immediately. That's going to be my push. Without all the noise that's going on, I'm going to be behind the scenes working with FDOT trying to get that done sooner rather than later.
It's a big one with 710, you know.
Well, and the other thing is the fire department. We've already got the money for that. We've already got the land subordinated for that, and Martin County's in for that. Our hazmat is in Jensen Beach. When we have a wreck on 710, if there's a hazmat, it can take 45 minutes to an hour for them to reach us.
Wow. Did not
There's
know
nothing
that.
out here for us. So I want and we've got a good fire department. I'm not saying we don't, but it's older and it's smaller and it's overburdened when there is a bad wreck. So I feel like those services need to be in our community ASAP. So those would be my two big focuses.
That's a big one. I didn't realize they had to come from Jensen Beach. It's
yes.
45
and
minutes.
When you've got a big truck overturned out here, that's an awful long time to be leaking chemicals.
For sure. Now, should new growth largely pay for itself through impact fees and developer contributions, or should existing taxpayers bear more of those costs?
Not largely pay for themselves, completely pay for themselves. I don't want my community paying for a dime of a profit-earning business's infrastructure, period. That's an easy one. That pay for, and not largely, all of it. Do not put any cost on my residents or my businesses, my small businesses.
Now, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, that's fine.
Affordable housing is a challenge across Florida. How do you encourage housing opportunities while preserving the character of Indiantown?
So that's an interesting thing, character of Indiantown. We are such a diverse little community, but we've done a really good job of getting homes here. Like I said, River Oaks is a wonderful opportunity. We have the Habitat a community. We have the apartments up in Booker Park. I would like to have some money, grant money to help people, older people especially, beautify and bring their houses up to a level of living where they don't have to worry. I would love to be able to see grant money for elderly people so we can fix their porches, we can fix their steps, we can put a new roof on their house if they need it, so they can live comfortably and safely in their home, especially if they don't have taxes to pay. That's going to be fantastic.
Right.
So that is the character of Indiantown. We do these things. The mayor just got a veteran in Indianwood large group of people went and repainted, new water heaters, all these new refrigerator, all these things. That is the character of Indiantown. And I will tell you that I don't agree with everybody on what they say and do, but let somebody come at, if they're part of my community, and come at them nasty. And I'm going to be the first one to say, no, we don't do that here. We are so diverse a community, but everybody's a member of the community. I feel like recently there's been a lot of folks try to divide this community, and I'm hoping that no one allows it. I'm hoping that we stick together because we're better as a full community.
100%. You're always better as a full community that works together, right? Everybody rowing in the same direction.
And taking care of each other.
Right.
It's important. And that's something that's lost in the world today is neighbor. The word neighbor. It's now the person that lives next door that you don't even know their name. We still have neighbors. And some of them may live in Booker Park. Some of them may live in Uptown. Some of them may live in River Oaks. Some of them live in Terra-Lago. Some of them live in the ranches, but they're our neighbors.
It's funny you say that, Karen, because you think about the way it used to be, right? You had the front porches, people sitting out on the front porch, and you talk to your neighbors all the time. I mean, now...
You checked each other's houses. You took care of each other's pets. Right. You watched each other's children.
That's just eliminated.
I don't want to lose that
reason.
Here. And I don't want politics to lose it. This seat is important because we have important business to do. But if I don't win this seat, I still want to love the same people I love today. Even if we disagreed, even if they voted for someone else, I still want to feel like part of the community. So we need to watch what we say to one another. There's a lot of life that's going to be lived after this election. That's why I won't say anything bad about people during this election, because every one of us believes we are the best person for that seat. It's going to just be, none of us are running for a malicious reason. We all think we can do good for the community. And everyone needs to remember that. One of the things that I really enjoyed was when the Chamber of Commerce had their deal for us at Indiantown. There were people from every race and I mean, when I say race, political race, there are people from every political race there, and we were all getting along. We were all having conversations. We were all congratulating each other. There wasn't that nastiness that you see outside. Everybody, let's leave that outside. Let's remember to respect each other, care about each other, and we're going to be neighbors long after August 18th. So let's treat each other with respect.
Good advice all the way around. And that's one thing I have to say about this election cycle in Indiantown, in Stewart, in Martin County. I appreciate there's diverse candidates in every race, and everybody doesn't think the same way. Therefore, you shouldn't have just one candidate, exactly. So it's nice to have differing views, and then the community decides. That's how America works. So I appreciate everybody being out there and bringing different views. And as you said, the community decides, your neighbors at the end. We're all here together. We're all still in the same boat, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I appreciate that viewpoint immensely. Indiantown is one of the most culturally diverse communities in Martin County. How will you ensure every resident feels represented, including Spanish-speaking families and residents who don't regularly attend council meetings or follow local politics online?
So that is a really big problem. We have an initiative started. Miss Sheila Rosario, who's a new resident at Terra-Lago, brought it up about doing a translator on our website. And that's part of what we are working on when we improve our website. Also, people now can listen on their phone in whatever language they need to, so they can download our meetings and put it in Spanish. I don't know how to do it, but I know it can be done. I have some signs going up in Spanish. One of the things that I decided to do was make some of my signs in Spanish. I did Spanish flyers that I'll be handing out actually later today. And I think that it's very important that everybody understands what's going on in our community. I wish the Spanish speakers would come to the meetings, because we do have Spanish speakers on our dais that can translate for them. We don't have a translator, but I know for a fact that if they come up and ask the questions, Angelina would be glad to say, tell us what they're saying and answer them. So we do have that diversity. The diversity of Indiantown is unique to almost any area. And the fact that we do it well, we do by diversity well. And I want to see us keep doing that. So we are making those adjustments, like with the website. We do print things in Spanish. Pretty much everything that we print and the office is in Spanish and English. You cannot cater to every language I'm sorry, I know we have a lot of languages, but
Sure.
there are these wonderful earbuds you can buy now that translate. So you put it on your language, you listen to it in English, and it comes out in your language. They're not expensive. The school has them. That's an issue. That's an issue with any public open forum. We're an English speaking community as a country, and we value that English speaking, but I think people need to be comfortable in their own native language as well.
Right.
So it's something we're looking at. It's something we're trying to figure out how to do it the best. We have lots of different dialects. So Spanish, even just doing Spanish is not going to completely cure the problem, but at least we are trying to figure it out and trying to put in place things that will work. Yeah.
Very good. So,
and if I'm reelected, I plan on doing public meetings too. So.
Oh, okay.
And so people can come and meet with me regularly. Because I think that's important. I've noticed that people don't call and don't email and don't ask questions. So maybe if I'm available a certain time, a certain day each week, they can come see me directly, maybe be more comfortable.
Right. You've had a few meet and greets already, haven't you, where you said, come on out, let's talk.
I was doing those prior to even campaigning. Before I had several at the local library for people just come ask questions. People with concerns. Before this blew up into the massive hysteria that Facebook has created, I knew people had questions, and I was willing to meet with them and try to explain to them the process, where we were, what we know, what we don't know, and try to. So I want to continue that.
Awesome. Okay. So once again, imagine we're sitting here 10 years from now. What decisions made over the next 4 years will determine whether Indiantown becomes a model Florida community or misses its opportunity?
I want to say that there are 3 things that we need to do well. We need to maintain the confidence that the state has in us as a community by maintaining people that inspire confidence. That's our staff and those of us that are on the dais, so that we can get the grant money that we need to finish the infrastructure for the water system. That's absolutely necessary. The second thing is the sports for the kids. We're working on doing the Indiantown Youth Sports Association. It's not going to single out other people with sports initiatives, but it will be that get something going element that we have not had before. We have a lot of people saying we need to do this, but nobody stepped up and actually done it. So now we have this group that is actually trying to do it. There will be things to work out, but I think as a community, we really have to work on making sure our kids have opportunities to play sports, to learn that sportsmanship, to be able to be good at things in their community, not bored and looking for things to get into. So it's very important. Sports is very important. And the most important of all, maybe, I don't know, those 2 are really important. I'm not going to grade them first, second, third. I'm just going to say the 3 things that I think have to be done well. We have to manage the growth so that we bring in the right number of community members with the right number of amenities, with the right number of jobs that are good paying long-term jobs. So it's a balancing act. You have to bring in those ratios. You have to have the health care. You have to have the grocery store. You have to have the amenities for shopping. You need to have enough roofs in your community to house the people that want to be here. And all in the middle of that is you need to have good paying jobs. So it's that is the balance, finding that balance.
Now, Karen, one thing that's going to be coming up is hiring a new city manager again. Taryn Crizzos.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
She's already said it, not me.
Don't say it. We reject that.
So, that is going to be a really big issue, and it's important.
Oh my goodness.
As we have seen since the inception of Indiantown. So what are going to be your focus, your standards? What are you going to be looking for in a new city manager or village manager?
Experience, history, productivity, relationship building, intelligence, commitment, someone who really cares about how the community progresses and not just about the salary and the opportunity to have a notable job. Someone who's not looking to be on a power trip and be a bigwig, but someone who's willing to do the small jobs as well. We have been incredibly lucky to have Taryn. She's smart. She's dedicated. She works tirelessly for this community, and she doesn't get enough credit. She's always the bad guy, and she takes it with the broadest of shoulders. And she's doing the job, and she's doing it well. And she came in and she picked that job up off the floor because there wasn't anything to start with. And we have a teeny tiny little government that all works well together. So I want that cohesive bond that exists now, and makes me sad to think about it, but I think it's going to be very difficult to find. But we have to make sure that we have those character traits before anything else, and verified experience. Reference check several times. Yes.
Right.
Verified experience.
Excellent. Right. It will be very important. It'll be interesting to see the council work through that all, but absolutely some really good ideas and qualifications that you need to start with. Will you have a citizen committee help weigh in on this? And I know it's not just your decision, but if
it's not just my decision, and that of course would be that would be a discussion that we would have to have. And here's the thing about a citizens committee. They fall under sunshine once they're established as a real, community organization, and that puts handcuffs on them. They end up not being able to talk to each other like we can't talk to each other. Sunshine is, I understand why it's there, because there were a lot of crooked backyard deals go on, but it also is so limiting for us. You have to notice the meetings. You can't talk to each other. You don't even feel comfortable, to be honest, going to the same events.
Right.
You're always thinking people are going to say, oh, I saw them there together, and that inhibits things. What I would like is to have someone from each of our communities, each of our areas, that came to us and said, this is what our community wants. They get together, they talk, not just with their community, but then they get together and talk with the other communities, see what they have in common. And then they come to us. That's what we're there for. That's why they put us in those seats. So no, I don't want necessarily an advisory board. I want to see my constituents come to us. We want input. Come talk to us.
Okay.
And I want to make myself available to do that, not just on Thursday nights.
And I agree with you, Karen. Sunshine laws have the best of intentions, but there are unintended consequences. So.
Unintended consequences. Very, very big ones. Yes.
In one word, what's Indiantown's biggest opportunity?
Focus.
What's your favorite place in Indiantown?
My house.
There you go. Okay. I love that.
I live on the river, and I have 3 acres, and it's beautiful, and it's quiet, and it's old Florida-y feeling, and my house.
Beautiful. Yeah. Why should someone who's never voted in a village election make sure they vote this year?
It's important. Voting in any election is important, and a lot of people don't think they make a difference, and maybe we don't. But in Indiantown, you do. And you do in Indiantown because it's such a small place that even 10 votes matters. So you want to vote for people that you trust. You want to vote for people that, and it's not a popularity contest, Casey. It can't be. You have to look at the candidates and say, who's going to make the best decisions? Who's going to research that? Who's not vulnerable to being influenced and pushed in a certain direction? Whose integrity do you trust the most? Who do you feel has the best interests, who shows that regularly? I think people should vote because this is your home. And if you don't vote, then you can't really complain if it goes badly. I mean, you can, but it's partly your fault that it went badly. So I feel like voting, as soon as my children turn 18, they get their voter's card, and I march their little butts down to the voting poll. Don't tell them who to vote for. I make them responsible for figuring that out on their own, researching, looking at things. I'm a weirdo. I'm a teacher, so I make my kids study. I brought my child to your We Care Martin that you were, and she loved it, by the way. And I was so proud at the break, the middle break, that I asked her what she thought, and she pegged every one of those characters. It was great. She was, very intuitive. So kids are smart. Young people should vote.
It's true, and I think people need to realize, and the way I see it, our local politics and decisions that are made locally impact us more than anything does, even on the federal level. So it's so important to get involved locally.
Absolutely.
Now, Karen, what do you think voters misunderstand most about you?
It's hard to misunderstand. I say pretty much what I think. I think maybe one of the things that people misunderstand about me is I will not take a strong stand without all the information. And I think some people are like, why don't you just, it's not good for this, or it's bad for that, or why won't you just go because this is emotion cannot be part of the factor. I may not like something personally, or I may hope that something goes a certain way personally, but I don't bring that into it. When our staff brings us information, the person who owns the property comes and brings us information, we have to be impartial. I feel like that impartiality, my ability to be impartial, is what makes me great on the dais. And I feel like it's integrity, because why is my opinion more important than the next person's opinion? Why? How dare me get up there and vote my opinion? I'll just be honest with you. How dare you come on that dais and vote your own opinion? That is not representation. You have to look at the facts. And here again, you have to represent the majority of your community, not the loudest, the majority.
100%. Is there anything voters haven't asked that you believe they should know?
Yeah, why are we talking about data centers more than all the other things that matter? Why is that the big boogeyman right now that everybody wants to talk about, while totally ignoring all the great stuff we're getting done? Don't you want to know what we've actually done? Wouldn't you like to know what the things that we've accomplished in the 2 short years that I've been on there? It's been incredible, the things we've done for this community. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to join the hoopla over the boogeyman that we have not met yet. Trust me, if the boogeyman shows up, we're going to protect our community.
And why should an undecided voter choose you?
Because I do my research. I have a lot of integrity. I care. I'm unswayable. And I'm honest.
Finally, how can voters learn more about your campaign and support you?
There's a Facebook page called Elect Karen. You know what? I don't even know my Facebook page. I'll just be honest with you. I think it's Elect Karen Onsager to seat 5, something like that. It's just, I didn't do a website. You know what I want them to do? Call me, email me, 772-678-8430. Text me first to tell me who you are, because I won't answer calls that I don't know. Text me. I'll call you back, I promise. 772-678-8430.
Perfect.
I would rather talk to, I'm old fashioned. I'd rather talk to people than to have them find out something on a website or,
Right.
I'm open to discussions.
Well, there you have it. You can reach right out to her and ask any questions you have about data centers, the water plant, infrastructure, anything that's going on in Indiantown, the new sports program that's coming about. A lot of
all
issues.
The good stuff.
All the good stuff for sure. There is a lot of good stuff. And I know, Karen, I appreciate you taking time here this morning. And for the folks in Indiantown, it's so important that you get out and vote. August 18th is so important that you get out and vote. That is going to be when this race is decided, August 18th. So there's going to be early voting starting August 8th. Make sure you tell your friends and your family, if you support a candidate, you must vote for them to make sure that they get in. Don't just count on that somebody else is going to vote and it's going to work out the way you see it. As Karen so eloquently said earlier, if you don't vote, while you can complain, you're part of the problem. So August 18th is that primary. Finally, don't forget to follow The Casey Ingram Show on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube for more conversations with the people asking for your vote. I'm Casey Ingram. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you on the next episode.